Welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to make this cute little dog bath buddy. It's made out of cotton. You just slide your hand up inside and he becomes a fun little puppet to play with in the bathtub. And then on the back side it's solid, so you can just scrub your little buddy with it. And the kids have a lot of fun playing with these in the bathtub. This is a free crochet pattern on my blog, and you can find that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. This little bath buddy measures about 6 inches long and about 4 inches across, so it's a nice size for a child's hand. Now what you're going to need to make a little bath buddy is, of course, some cotton yarn. Now I have made these in the past with acrylic yarn, and you can do that, but I really prefer things that are going to go in the water to be made out of cotton. And you do need to be careful, because if these are played with in the bathtub, it can absorb the dirt that's in the water, so you want to rinse it out and maybe hang it up to dry. And you can just toss it in the laundry along with the towels as well. Today's video, I'm going to use these colors to make my bath buddy. I'm going to be using these bright colors, pink, orange, and green, and then I've got a little bit of black to do the eyes and the nose. We're going to be stitching today with our H hook. That's a 5mm crochet hook. You'll need your scissors and also a needle to sew your parts on and to weave in your ends. We're going to be starting from the bottom of our little buddy and move to the top. Then we'll make his little arms and ears and face. I'm going to begin with green because I'm making the body of mine in green. Now remember, you can use any colors that you want, and these are great for boys or for girls. Slip knot. And then I'm going to loosely chain 30 chains. Now we don't want to chain too tightly or the bottom of our puppet will be too tight and our stitches might pucker just a little bit. So if you are a tight stitcher, you might want to go up to an I hook instead of the H just for your beginning chain. I'm going to chain 30 chains. Here's my 30 chains. I'm going to join it in a circle, being careful not to twist my chain. There we go. And now we're going to chain 3. Alright, so here's my chain, and I'm going to stitch 1 double crochet in each chain around. My chain 3 here does count as my first double crochet, so we'll go right into the next chain and stitch a double crochet. Yarn over, go in the chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, and go through the second 2. That's our double crochet. Now we're stitching 1 double crochet in each of the chains around, and we'll have a total of 30 double crochets. And remember, our chain 3 at the beginning counted as our first double crochet. I completed that first row of double crochets, and you should have 30 double crochets. We're going to join to the top of the chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. There we go. Now for the next 2 rows, we're just going to place a double crochet in each double crochet, join, chain 3, and repeat. So my chain 3 here counts as my first double crochet. So I'll go right into the next one and stitch a double crochet. And I will do this all the way around, stitching 1 double crochet in each double crochet around. Then I'll join to the top of the chain 3 and repeat so that I have 3 rows of these green double crochets. This is going to be one bright bath buddy. All right, so I'll complete this row and then I'll do another one for 3 rows of 1 double crochet in each double crochet, join to the top of the chain 3. After you complete your 3rd row, don't chain 3 though, because we're going to be changing colors. I've completed those 3 rows of 1 double crochet in each stitch. I'm not going to cut my yarn because I'm going to be bringing it back in to do the top, but I am going to bring in my pink. The pink is the shirt portion of the bath buddy. We did these 3 rows in green, and now I'm going to do 3 rows in pink, and then we'll bring the green back in up here where this white is. Alrighty, so I've brought my pink in, snuggled that down, and snug that one down. Chain 3. Again, the chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, and then we're going to stitch 3 rows of the pink in 1 double crochet in each stitch, join with the chain 3 and repeat for 3 rows. And again, on that 3rd row, we're not going to do that chain 3 because we're going to change colors. And in case you're wondering about that, the reason we wait until after we change colors to do our chain 3 is because if we would have went ahead and done our chain 3, we would have this first stitch in green because our chain 3 counts as our first stitch or our first double crochet. So we change colors first and then do that chain 3. It makes for a nice and neat change of colors and stripe. Alrighty, so for the next 3 rows, I'm going to be stitching in the pink color, 1 double crochet in each double crochet around, join and chain 3 for 3 rows. I'm just loving these bright colors. So pretty. I completed those 3 rows of pink that are stitched just like these, 1 double crochet in each double crochet around. Now we're going to cut that pink one off. And we're going to bring our green one back in. We'll snug this down, make sure that's not pulled too tightly and not hanging too loosely, the green one. We want it just to lay nicely right across. And we'll go ahead and chain 3. This next row, we're stitching it exactly like we did these ones. We're just going to stitch, our chain 3 counts our first double crochet, of course, and then we'll stitch 1 double crochet in each stitch around. And after this row, we're going to begin decreasing to get the shape of the top of the head. So I'll just stitch around this row, 1 double crochet in each double crochet around, just like we've done on those 6 previous rows. So I completed this row of 1 double crochet in each double crochet, I joined and chained 3. Now this next row is where we're going to begin decreasing. We're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next 2 double crochets. And then we're going to stitch what's called stitching 2 double crochets together, or double crochet decrease. Yarn over, go in the next double crochet and pull up a loop. Then we'll go in the next double crochet and pull up a loop. You'll have 4 loops on your hook instead of the normal 3. Yarn over and go through the first 3, yarn over and go through the last 2. And what we've done is we've done a double crochet decrease. We've made 2 double crochets into 1. And that's the way that this round or row will work. 1 double crochet in the next 3 double crochets, and then a double crochet decrease. And we'll repeat that all the way around this row. There's my 3 double crochets, and then a double crochet decrease, or stitching 2 double crochets together. And we'll work this the rest of the way around this row. 3 double crochets, and then a double crochet decrease all the way around, join to the top of our chain 3. You can see that it's beginning to decrease so we can have the shape of the top of our head. Alrighty, so I finished that row. I'm going to join to the top of the chain 3. There we go. And chain 3. Now this row we're only going to have 2 double crochets between our decrease stitches. So our chain 3 counts as our first. We'll stitch 1 double crochet in the next stitch, and then we'll stitch a double crochet decrease. Then we'll stitch 1 double crochet in the next 2, 1 and 2, and then we'll stitch a double crochet decrease. And that's the way that this row works. 2 double crochets, 1 in each of the next 2 stitches, and then a double crochet decrease. And again, we'll work this all the way around and join to the top of our chain 3. And you'll notice we're having less and less stitches because we're decreasing. I joined to the top of my chain 3 again and chained 3. Now this row we're only going to have 1 double crochet between our decrease stitches. Our chain 3 counts as 1 double crochet, so the next 2 double crochets we're going to stitch into a decrease stitch. There we go. Then we'll stitch 1 double crochet. The next 2 stitches will be a decrease stitch. So we're stitching 1 double crochet and then a decrease stitch. There we go. Not as many stitches to work in, is there? That's the way it's supposed to be. All right, well, I'll continue this around. Got a decrease stitch. There we go. One double crochet, and we're going to end with a decrease stitch. There we go. Join to the top of our chain 3 and chain 3. Now this last row of our Bath Buddy, we're going to be stitching decrease stitches with all the way around. So we're going to stitch a decrease stitch. Then we'll go to the next two and stitch a decrease stitch. We'll go to the next two and stitch a decrease stitch. A little snug, isn't it? There we go. And then the last two. There we go. We'll join to the top of that chain 3. There we go, with our slip stitch. And we're going to tie off, but I want you to leave yourself just a little bit of yarn because we're going to use that to make sure that the hole is closed on the top. So we'll tie that off and turn that wrong side out. Make sure I get the right string there. There it is. All right, so now our Bath Buddy is wrong side out, and we're going to use our needle and just make sure that this hole in the top is closed. I've slid my hand up inside so I can see that hole, and I threaded my needle onto my tail of yarn, and I'm just going to go in and out of those stitches and just make sure that hole is gathered closed. And then I'll make a few stitches across. Just like that. And then just weave that in through some of those stitches and some of those fibers, because we don't want the top of our Bath Buddy to come open when we're playing, right? All right, so now I'm just going to clip that off and turn this over. Now we do need to weave in these pink ones in also, and I'll do that after a bit. But I wanted to show you, we need to weave that one in as well. And this is just your basic little bath mitt. And if you want to just make one like this, it works great for just washing your face or something like that if you just want a little bath mitt. So I completed one of the little arms so that it looks like here's his little shirt and his little hand. And I'll show you how to do that real quick. We're going to start with the green, make a slip knot and chain 10. Okay, now 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to place a double crochet in the 4th chain. And then we'll place a double crochet in each chain across, and this is going to give us 8 double crochets. We're going to chain 3 and turn. Now our chain 3 here does count as our first double crochet, so we'll go right in that next one and we'll stitch a double crochet in each chain each stitch across. We'll have 2 rows of the green, and then we're going to change to the pink and stitch 2 rows of the pink. And of course, that depends on what colors you're making yours out of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1 in the last stitch, which is the chain 3. There we go. Now we're not going to change 3 yet because we're going to change colors. So we'll go ahead and clip the green one off and put the pink back in. There we go. Snug that down. There we go. And chain 3. Now what I do is I pull these 2 up and I stitch over them, and that makes it so I don't have to weave those in later. So we'll begin in the next stitch and stitch a row of double crochets with the pink cotton. There we go. Get those out of the way now. Finish our row. One more, and then I'll chain 3 and turn. And 1 more row of the pink. Alrighty. Now we're going to tie off, but I want you to leave yourself a long tail of the pink because we're going to use it to close the top as well as sew it onto the side of our bath buddy. So we'll go ahead and tie that off, and we're going to make sure that that's tied down good. And we'll clip that one, and then we'll take a second and weave this one in. There we go. So this is the bottom. And we'll just weave that in out of the way. There we go. And now the way we're going to form the sleeve is we're going to fold it in half like this. We're going to thread this pink one onto our needle. And just a little tip, something I found when working with cotton is if I open the end and flatten that out a little bit, it makes it a lot easier to thread it onto my needle. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is close the top of this. So I'm just going to go in like this and just stitch back and forth like that, and then come back to where we started. And that just closes the top of the sleeve. Alright, now we want to line this up with the side like we did this one. We're going to bring it this way because this is our front, and we're just going to whip stitch it on there. Make sure when you're stitching that you grab both of those layers of the arm, as if not, it'll be open on the back side, and we don't want that. We'll just keep stitching right down through the green. To the bottom of our little paw. There we go. Open it up, see if you like how it looks, and then just stitch right back up. And just weave it in. And I just keep stitching till I've just about run out of all my yarn that I pulled out. And you want to get about a 14, maybe 16-inch piece of yarn. I would rather have too much than not enough when it comes to sewing on the pieces. All right, so now our bath buddy has his sleeves of his shirt and his hands. Next, we're going to do the ears. To make our ears, I'm making it out of this bright orange. I think it'll look really fun with these other bright colors that I'm using. I'm going to do the snout out of the orange as well. So I've got my slip knot on here, and I'm going to chain 9. I'm going to turn, and I'm going to place a half double crochet in the second chain from the hook. Yarn over, go in that chain and pull up a loop. Yarn over and go through all 3 of those loops. And we're going to do half double crochets across the chain. All right, one more. We're going to chain 1 and turn. Our chain 1 does not count as a stitch, so we'll place a half double crochet right in that first stitch, and then we'll half double crochet in each stitch across. When we get to the last half double crochet, we're going to place 3 half double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And that just makes a nice rounded ear at the bottom, there we go, of our ear. We'll just join to that next stitch and tie off. Cut our yarn. There we go. And we'll just weave this in to the back of our ear. There we go. Well, that pink string wants to just follow me around. Alrighty. So now we're going to thread this beginning tail onto our needle. And our ear will sit like this. And again, I like to put my hand up inside to kind of help me place it. I want it to be over the edge of my arm there. So I'm going to put it like this, and I'm going to tilt it up and just stitch a few stitches going through the bath buddy and the ear. Like that. I'll take a look at it, see if I like where it's laying, and I do like that. I came unthreaded. There we go. And then I'll just make a few more stitches. I always check to make sure I like where it's at. That way, if I have to move it, I don't have to move a bunch of stitches. And I'm just going to bring that to the underneath side and weave that in. Alrighty, so there's one ear, and now I need to make the other one. Let's make the little snout, and we do that by making a slip knot, and then we're going to chain 5. We're going to join that in a circle. There we go. Make that little stay knot. All right, now we're going to pull up a loop and chain 3. And then we're going to stitch 9 more double crochets in the loop So we have a total of 10 double crochets. And if you'll notice, I'm stitching over that string that I started with, just in case I have a little hole in the center of my snout. I can close it up by gently pulling on that string. All right, let's see how many I've got here. Here's my chain 3, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Need to do 2 more. And this is going to be nice and snug, but by getting all 10 of them in there, it helps the snout have a little bit more of a 3D look to it. And I'll show you that in just a second, of course. So here's my 10 double crochets, counting my chain 3. I'm going to slip stitch. Oops, there we go. Into that chain 3. Pull up a loop and pull that loop through my loop. And then I'm going to tie off, giving myself a nice long string because I'm going to need that to sew it onto the front of my bath buddy. All right, so let's tie this off. And just in case you have a little hole, you can turn it over and gently pull on that string to close that up, and then we'll just weave that in, get that out of the way. Because we won't need it. All right, now before we put this onto our bath buddy, we want to make the little nose and the little mouth so we don't have to go through all the thicknesses of the bath buddy and the snout when we go to sew it on. So I'm going to grab some black, and I know that black is hard to see, but since we're just doing a little slip knot, or a little French knot, actually it's a French knot, and a little mouth, I think you'll be able to see what I'm doing. All right, so I'm going to go right up the center, leave myself a little tail, and to make a French knot we're going to wrap it 3 times around our needle. And we're not going to go right down that same hole. We're going to go just a little bit over so it catches some of those threads of our stitches so it doesn't pull right back through. And then we just gently pull that through and the French knot stays. Now we want to make the little lines. And so what I do is I go down to where the edges of the stitches start. We don't want that to get caught in there because we're going to use that to sew with. There we go. And we make that line. I go right back in the center. And then I'll go over here. I'll go right there and right there. Just like that. And now our little puppy has a smile. And I'll just go to the back and go ahead and tie a knot because that's going to be held down by sewing that onto the front of the puppy. All right. There we go. Here's our puppy. Now you want to make sure you get that on there straight, unless you want one that's silly. All right, let's thread this on. And you can pin that in place if you're more comfortable with it, but I'm good with not sewing it in place. And I go underneath, and then what I do is I'll set it where I want it, and I like the bottom of the mouth to be right on the edge of the top of the shirt. And all I do is I just go around those edge stitches, and I go back and then forward, trying to make sure that I keep it straight. I'm going to turn it upside down a little bit so I can see. There we go. And I really want this to stay put because I have a feeling that this little mouth on here just might get pulled a little bit. Make sure that's going to stay where I have it. There we go. I'm just going to go right back up there, and then I'm going to go around this side. I want to make sure that I catch all those edges, that it's not going to go anywhere. And if you'll notice, it sort of pooches up, so you get a little bit of a 3D look to the nose. I've got some extra yarn left here, so I'm just going to go around again. Just use up my yarn. Got a little lump there. I'm going to pull that in just so it looks pretty. And then I'll go to the underneath side and just weave that in. Going through some of the stitches and clip. All right, so the last thing that we need to add to our little puppy are his eyes. And we'll get another piece of this black up here. And we'll weave that in, and we're going to make 2 French knots, and I like to put them right on the edge of the little snout portion, 1 on each side. I'm going to leave a little yarn under there so I have something to tie with later. And we're going to do a French knot again. 1, 2, 3, and then I'll go in the green portion like that. And I'm going to pull it underneath. Remember to pull gently. And there's 1 eye. Now we're going to go right up next to it on this side. And again, I'm in the side of the snout. Pulled that a little hard, didn't I? And make sure my eye doesn't slip away. Wrap 3 times and then go in the other portion. And that, by bringing it up through the snout, I think it helps it so that we don't lose the eye and it stays put. Alrighty, then I'm going to go inside here. I'm just going to go across, so I'm where we began, and go ahead and tie a knot. And you'll notice I'm tying 3 knots. I don't know why I do that, but I do it a lot. I guess 2's not tight enough, so I have to have that 3rd knot. All right, so there is our bright and colorful that I slid a little. There we go. Here's our bright and colorful bath buddy. The only other thing that I like to add is a bow. So for the bow, I have chained 25 chains. And I use the orange color just because I like it. It's nice and bright. We're going to tie off the end. Make a couple of knots so it doesn't come undone. There we go. All right, and then we'll do the same thing on this end. We'll make a knot up close to the end. There we go. Wants to come down too far. Let's try it again. Pull it towards, there we go. I just want a nice knot so it doesn't come undone. All right. Then we just take this, and I go through those 2 center double crochets, and I just pull it through. And then I just tie a bow. And that just adds a little extra something to it. Now this would make a great shower gift or birthday present, and get them some bubble bath or some baby soap or child soap. It'd just be a lot of fun to make. Now, I did this one as a puppy. You could add bunny ears. You could add kitty ears. Any kind of ears that you want, and make it into just about any kind of animal that you would like. And that's how easy it is to make the super cute bath buddy.